Johnny's going to be working with me. Fentanyl will be one of the things that we'll discuss. Importantly, we'll be discussing the farmers. We'll be discussing a lot of things. I don't know that we'll even speak about Taiwan.
By the end of his trip to Asia, could be the case that we somehow have higher tariffs on our neighbor Canada than we do on our biggest rival, China. How on earth does that make sense?
Respectfully to the president, let's go after the bad actors, not nations with the trade surplus.
Talking tariffs there as the president's overseas in just a few hours from the biggest meeting of this trip with President Xi Jinping of China. The Chinese Foreign Ministry putting out a statement saying heads of state diplomacy plays an irreplaceable role in providing strategic guidance for China-U.S. relations. China stands ready to work with the U.S. to achieve positive outcomes and provide new guidance and impetus for the steady development of China-U.S. relations. All sounds good as you get ready for this meeting. A lot of things could happen. Let's bring in our panel. Fox News contributor Guy Benson. Kimberly Strassel is also a Fox News contributor, and Fox News media analyst Howard Kurtz. Kimberly, how do you set the table for this meeting?
Well, look, I think going into this, what you've seen is Trump meeting with all of these other countries. And while this is a very Trumpian approach, right? He said, look, I feel like I can make a deal with Xi. I have a lot of respect for him, a lot of positivity around him. The rest of this trip leading up to this, I think, was also a sort of warning message to China. You had the president really cozying up with other members of the region, setting up these trade deals, doing critical minerals deals as an alternative to China, also urging these allies to begin pumping up their own defense budgets. And this, of course, comes after closer ties and a minerals deal with Australia. So there seems to be a message being sent by the president. Look, I'm here to talk, but just to let you know, we're also looking at the strategic interests and questions and your issues, our issues with you in the region.
Yeah. Guy, he is also looking for tangibles, and he's been doing that all along. In South Korea, he put out a Truth Social saying South Korea has agreed to pay the U.S. $350 billion for a lowering of the tariffs charged against them by the United States. Additionally, they've agreed to buy our oil and gas in vast quantities, investments into our country by wealthy South Korean companies. Businessmen will exceed $600 billion, and our military alliance stronger than ever before. And based on that, I have given them approval to build a nuclear-powered submarine rather than the old-fashioned and far less nimble diesel-powered submarines that they have now. A great trip with a great prime minister. And this obviously finishes also after Japan and all the deals they did there. He's trying to take tangibles. Is he going to get that with China?
Well, he got tangibles, to your point, from some of these other countries. So Kimberly hit the nail on the head. Deliverables being really advertised in a major way across that region, including with the new Prime Minister of Japan. Trump seemed to really hit it off with her, the first ever female, a right-winger, in that position. And that's all leading up to this meeting with Xi. Very much sending a message ahead of time. And then the open question is, all right, you've got all the economic basket of issues on one side. Then there's the fentanyl question that Britt and Larry were talking about earlier as well, fentanyl killing so many Americans over so many years. Will we get actual concrete steps and promises that can be followed up on and actually codified from the Chinese, or just more talk, which they've been very good at delivering now for a period of years? So a lot of anticipation ahead of tonight into tomorrow, of course, and a lot of question marks about what Xi is willing to actually do as opposed to just say.
Yeah. Howie, there's also been a ton of writing since the so-called Liberation Day that the president called it on tariffs about this and how it's going to play out for the U.S. economy. How do you look at it now fairly to see what's come in, the deals he's done, and what's yet to be out there?
Well, Xi Jinping was shrewd to wait out the 100% proposed increase in tariffs. And Trump wants a bunch of things. He wants to do a deal on TikTok. He wants easing of restrictions on soybeans. Xi Jinping wants one thing, and that's Taiwan. This is the big fat elephant in the room between these two nuclear powers. They would like a subtle change in wording from the president. You saw him play it down well. I don't even know if we'll talk about that, because China views Taiwan, as everybody knows, as a breakaway province. And there's some White House aides who are afraid of what Trump may say, but he is testing the ground here for what if he really did make a move for Taiwan. The president and the U.S. have always tried to vowed to defend that province. But that's going to be a major factor here.
Yeah, Taiwan obviously a major chip maker, and where that's made, and the U.S. trying to counter that by building chips inside the U.S. Will take some time. I want to turn topics. Washington Examiner, FBI Arctic Frost investigation targeted 160 Republican operatives, lawmakers in search of election crimes. The records indicate that many of those swept into the probe were never accused of crimes, were placed under review as the FBI mapped context, communications, and activities surrounding efforts to challenge the 2020 election. The inquiry began under the FBI Director Chris Wray and was subsequently taken over by then Special Counsel Jack Smith in November of 2022. Here's a couple of senators on this.
Arctic Frost was the vehicle by which FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors could improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus. Contrary to what Smith has said publicly, this was clearly a fishing expedition.
What is revealed in those 1,700 pages of documents, in those 197 subpoenas, is nothing short of a Biden administration enemies list.
Kimberly, the statement from Special Counsel Jack Smith's counsel. Jack is happy to discuss his work as special counsel, answer any questions at a public hearing, just like every other special counsel investigating a president before him has done. We hope the House and Senate Judiciary Committees will agree so the American people can hear directly from him. Name the time and place. Jack will be there. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, what we make of this, Brett, this is not any special counsel investigation. And in fact, I think it's cause for people to think about just how scary are the powers of a special counsel. I mean, this was a guy appointed by the Biden administration and essentially using the hook of January 6th was investigating, flanked by DOJ prosecutors and FBI agents, the entire Republican firmament, okay? Official bodies like the Republican National Committee, nonprofits, think tanks, individuals, candidates, senators. I mean, it was an extraordinary sweep. And I think we have to ask the question, okay, again, the hook January 6th, but Grassley described this as a fishing expedition, just what all was being rolled up. And then there's finally the chilling aspect of this. You're sending out subpoenas. People know they're under the microscope. What does that do for political speech and action? It's just a very, very scary situation.
Yeah, Guy, we often look at this through the prism of what happened if it happened the other way, if Democrats were on the back of this, and what would the outrage be and the press coverage of it be. We often do that, and it works in this case.
Yeah, I think we know how things would look, and I think it's important to acknowledge, and I've said this consistently, January 6th was a dark day and a national disgrace, and I think most Americans would say there should be robust investigations into what happened that day, and some people should be held accountable, and that'd be uncomfortable for the president and a number of Republicans. But the concern here is, and it's been for a while, just a vast overreach, this sprawling investigation that went all over the place, including members of the Senate who certified President Biden's victory, or President-elect Biden's victory at the time. And now these organizations and conservative groups, it feels like enemies list, overreach, mission creep, whatever you want to call it, a lot of legitimate concerns now in this pushback.
Yeah, Howie, I got 20 seconds.
Okay, well, it's pretty outrageous for Jack Smith to do this to President Trump, posting deranged Jack Smith is a criminal, 3 exclamation points. You know, it didn't have the content of the calls, as you pointed out earlier. But also, not to both sides this, but FCC Chairman Brendan Carr threatened Disney ABC over benching Jimmy Kimmel. So it's not like one side has a monopoly on outrageous tactics. But
All right, panel, thanks so much.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.